And good afternoon. Actually, it's AM here, but it's almost noon. Everybody, this is the Freelance Teacher Videocast. And far be it from me to, speak a lot on a podcast called Successful Dropout, but I really feel compelled to recommend it to you guys, to a lot of my younger listeners and followers, because there are things in that podcast that you won't hear pretty much anywhere else. There are a couple of places like School Sucks Podcast and a few other entrepreneurial sites, Entrepreneur on Fire, and a few other places. But the Successful Dropout is now a pretty well-established podcast, and I listened to a few episodes to test it out. And I found the information on it compelling, exciting, and fun. And it's kind of difficult for someone like me to say those kinds of words, right? I'm 45. I've taught high school English for 20 years. I have all the credentials you can possibly imagine: high school diploma, bachelor's degree, MS degree. I have it's kind of like a professional diploma because I have the certification to be a principal, an assistant principal, a superintendent in a school district. Right, I've got a lot of paper I can throw at people. And the Successful Dropout, however, talks about how those worlds of here, look at my credentials, look at my licenses, is kind of coming to an end for a few reasons. There are a couple of things that are just not sustainable with it. And when you see in the job market, and this was an episode, and let me come out right away. There's a woman on the podcast named Emily Hirsch. I recommend you, if you're an internet entrepreneur, listening to her material. And then Zach Slayback of Praxis. I've mentioned Praxis before. And so what I wanted to talk about with the Praxis podcast, where Zach Slayback talks about things that are not sustainable in today's credentialed, licensed world, and how young people should be able to be aware of this, is he said he does a couple of things to explode the myth, and he calls it I think he uses the word religion, the higher education religion. That might be the case. Maybe I'm laying it on a little too thick, but he talks about how he goes to colleges to talk about Praxis, which is at discoverpraxis.com. And he asks them, how many of you would be here if you could learn all the things that you're learning here, but you would not get the diploma? You would not get the credential at the end of 4 years. And he's done hundreds of these talks, and he says maybe 5 people have said, yeah, I'd be here just to learn this stuff even if I wasn't getting the credential. And what that means is people are going to college not so that they can become smarter people and have more what's called human capital, but so that they can get the piece of paper that says they have a bachelor's degree, so that they can signal on LinkedIn and other places and to other people that they have what it takes to get the job they want. And I think he brings up a really good point, that world is changing. And that's what made me feel compelled to speak with you guys today on this, is that the middle-aged people who are telling you, college graduates earn $1 million over their lifetime more than non-college graduates, Slayback destroys that myth in the podcast on Successful Dropout. Also the human capital theory, right? That's what I had mentioned before, where you go to college so that you have more human capital, you have more skill, you have more ability, you're smarter, and therefore you're more capable and better able to go out into the workforce and work for somebody, start your own company, do your own thing, which way direction you decide to go. And he also shows that too is mythical, that's not, that the people who say these things are people who are interested in, and think about it this way, marketing university higher education. And it makes perfect sense. If I were running a college, I'd want to make sure that students got this information so they would come to the college and spend their money on tuition in my college. I certainly would be interested in slinging that kind of info because it would get more people in the door. Just like the guy at the local pizza shop wants more people to come into the pizzeria. Now, he doesn't say, oh, pizza is the most amazing health food, and if you eat more pizza, you'll live 15 years longer, right? He can't quite get away with that. But every pizza shop that I've ever been in says it's the best pizza in town. Well, they can't all be the best pizza in town, but they're going to say that, just like the higher education folks will tell you. You're going to make $1 million more over the course of your career with a college degree. You're going to invest in yourself and therefore have more human capital when you go out into the workforce. And on Successful Dropout podcast with Zach Slayback, he takes a torch to these things, and they're wholly false. And it has become, I think, a religion where this is what you do. You go through and get ordained with the diploma, and you are therefore now an acceptable person worthy of hire. And the reality is you have people who have a diploma, because now, of course, I'm not going to say everybody, but now, I mean, the diploma, everybody's got a diploma in something. So how are you supposed to know who's better? And so now the pendulum is swinging towards experience. And he brings up a couple of people with whom he's spoken, and they've said, and these are captains of industry. I think he mentioned someone at Google. He mentioned someone at another big tech company. He said the person Slayback was interviewing said to him that the corporate hiring person said that he values 6 months at a company just doing work as more valuable than a college diploma. And that's pretty heavy duty stuff, because you'll never hear that. Your high school guidance counselor, who is not a bad person and does not wish ill for your future, but their information is old, and these people are telling you through experience that the idea of rack up as many credentials as possible, go $100,000 into debt, and that is the only way to do it. That is simply not true. And my last point is, and I've mentioned this and I'll mention it again because I just can't see any other way, the diploma in the arts, I think, in most universities today is maybe less than worthless. And let me explain what I mean. You have all of these studies type diplomas, X studies, this studies, that studies. Hell, even I took a class called American Studies, right? I was lucky I had a good professor for it, and we really covered a lot of ground, and it was very literature heavy. But you go to university, and what do you learn, right? Can we speak freely here? I hope so. You learn that the West is bad. Western culture, particularly the white Christian male culture, is all bad. Now, it certainly isn't all good, but it's all bad, right? You'll see tweets from professors saying, the West is evil and we need to infiltrate Western culture. And there was even a professor, I think in Boston, who tweeted out, kill all the white people. I mean, that's sick stuff. And that kind of idea permeates much of academia. How do I know this? I'm a public school teacher. I have scores of friends in social media who are professors or assistant professors, many of them non-tenured, because there's a tenure glut that's been going on since the early 1970s. So one of these non-tenured professor friends of mine even said, is starting to allude that the fact that a lot of these people can't, this person and peers can't get tenure is the white power structure. Which, I mean, if you're a young person and you're going and learning stuff from a person like that who doesn't know that there's been a PhD glut since the 1970s, that if you are someone like me, right, you can't get hired. I mean, case in point, even forget about the university level. I've applied to, I think 120 assistant principal jobs, and I've had one interview. Why? Because, I'm me. I'm not going to fit any preconceived notion of what, America should look like. So that's fine. I can handle it, right? I got my thing going. But you have this kind of idea in higher education, and a lot of anti-male sentiment as well. So, you're starting to see cracks in the old paradigm, which is why on my personal Facebook page, I say I want to participate in the paradigm shift in education, because Why would you go to school if you're a male of any color? You're taking a big risk, and you're going to hear a lot of anti-sentiment against you. Anti-sentiment. Yeah, you're going to hear a lot of bad feelings about you, and the anti-Western bias. I mean, it's really and pay for that. And that's really the thing. How much are you willing to pay for that? So Successful Dropout goes into not just the theory behind all of this kind of thing, but the facts. And praxis is just one thing that's out there. Slayback works for praxis. And you've got other spaces, other areas of the world, the tech world, the medical world. You have also the philosophical world. And you have people who with no degrees, but because of their experience and what they produce, they're quite popular, and many of them are making quite a bit of money. So the Emily Hirsch material, the Praxis interview on Successful Dropout, I've found these useful. I think they're exceedingly more useful for somebody who's under the age of 22 or 23. And I just want to be on record as recommending it. All right, take a look yourself, see what you think. Comment, like, share, tag, all that kind of social media stuff. And I'll talk to you next time. Have a good day.